Welcome back to the Tidarium Hangar. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about the G.I. Joe. This is not classified. It's Super 7, and it's their Duke and their Cobra Commander. Now, what do I think about these? How do I feel about this? Well, I'm actually going to tell you at the end of the video. I'm going to just go through it and show you good and bad and plus and minus, and then my opinions will be held till later. And so with that, am I going to pack up my classifieds and replace them with these? Or are these the only two I'm going to get? We'll talk about this and more coming up. Alright, so here they are in their packaging, and it looks pretty good. You can see all of the accessories that they both come with, and they are slightly different. One has the kind of camo blue, camo green for good guy, blue for the bad guy, and yeah, looks great. And then to the back, so we do have the file cards right here. So the file cards are pretty good if you want to pause that and read that, I guess, if it's all on screen. And no shortage of the brown box special. They do go out on the packaging. It's pretty nice, but a lot of people just throw it away. Okay, we're going to start out with Cobra Commander himself, but before we do that, we're going to take a look at this background that is included with all of these. So it's whether you get a Joe or a Cobra, a good guy or a bad guy, you get this burst, this explosion in the background, and you can, of course, cut the tape on this and open it up and make it even bigger if that's something you wanted to do. So it's a pretty cool display option, and you can put it as your background if you wanted to, or you could use this for art. You can take your pictures of your figures in front of this and have them look like they're part of the card back. So that's kind of a really cool idea, a very low cost, cheap inclusion that makes a big difference. And as for the figure, it comes with a ton of accessories. Before we get into accessories, we're going to take a look at the actual figure himself. But I do want to say that somebody told me in my comments below that Super 7 contractually has to price themselves a certain percentage higher than Hasbro. I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't know, but they said they have to. And they just add all these accessories to make up the price value difference. We'll have a bigger discussion coming on price value down the road. But anyway, getting into the figure and Cobra Commander himself, we're going to slide all these accessories out of the way and take a look at him. Now, he is packed in the box, in the packaging, with this cape on him, sort of, and it works. It's wired. It gets the job done. It's not clipped on. It's just wired, and you wrap a wire around him like that, and that works. It gets the job done, but it's supposed to be blood red, not pink. So they got the color wrong on it, so that is kind of a downer. So taking that off and then looking at the figure himself, he does look pretty good overall. Now, I want to say I've watched a few reviews, and I've heard the nitpicking about the helmet stripe is not perfect. If we can zoom in, it's a little fuzzy in areas for the helmet stripe. Overall, on the shelf from a distance, you don't notice, but when you get close up, you do notice. It is a bit sloppy. That's a reflection. That's not paint problem, but it is a little imperfect. But going down, like, that is almost spot on perfect, and these here aren't bad. So I wouldn't complain about the paint apps. I don't think they're horrible. I don't think they're bad. I'm sure there's a ways it could have been better, but I mean, if you're looking at it for a $55 figure price point, you expect perfection or near perfection. And then getting into his articulation, the head. Now, my understanding is, and I haven't opened Duke yet, but this head is going to be kind of loose, and Duke's head is going to be super hard to get off. Let's see how easy it is to pop that off. So yeah, it is really super loose and easy to pop off. And then this one's a little tighter. So that's consistent with what other people are saying about theirs. But I think I'd rather it be a little loose. Probably not as loose as this thing's going to end up being over time. I'd rather be a little loose than too tight. You can't get it off. Okay, so looking at the shoulder, goes out to about here. Ooh, that didn't sound good. That was paint cracking. But yeah, it goes to about there. And then, of course, you get your 360 all the way around. There's some of my paint loss that cracked as I did the articulation. So, interesting. Bicep swivel, which would do a 360 if need be. And then we have a 90 right there. So that's kind of all you're going to get, which for me is not that big of a deal. And then which one is this? Is this going to be in and out or up and down? You've got this particular hand has up and down on it, and 360 And then you have the Ab Crunch, which kind of reminds me of the Masters of the Universe Classics from Mattel. And it's like they carried that forward, which it doesn't look bad on this figure, really, at all. It looks pretty good on this figure. And then you do have the waist swivel and a little bit of a ball joint going on right there. It's like, ah ha 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 ha. Like he can lean back extra because of it. I can't really lean forward extra, but back extra because of it. And then getting down here, he does have... So this is glued on, and then this belt has... I think the whole belt is rubbery, and it's glued on too, and it's in place, which looks... I think it looks fantastic. That mixture of materials and paint makes that look fantastic. So the leg can go up to here and back to there, which he doesn't ever do too much acrobatic stuff. 90 at the knee, and then down below the foot doing all of what the foot does. So there's the articulation. There's kind of the overlook of this guy. Now let's go ahead and get into accessories. And as I'll say in the intro, and then I'll keep saying it, I'm not going to give my personal opinion about how I feel about either of these figures until the very end. Since he's already holding the snake staff, it looks pretty good. It's pretty well done, except mine is a bit crooked. I'm going to heat it up and straighten it out down the road. It's not a big deal to me right out of the package, and of course it looks phenomenal in the package already, but it is an issue, so it will be something that had to be fixed on a $55 figure. And then this is one of his blaster pistols, and that looks kind of cool. And then this is the other blaster pistol, which has more paint. It's a different pistol, and it has paint deco all over it. This other one does not have deco, so it's more like maybe that's supposed to match the toy, and this is supposed to match the show. Then we have this one here, which I'm sure we've seen used before, and that looks pretty good. I'm not exactly sure which hand would hold that. Maybe this hand would hold... I don't know. I'm not sure exactly how that's supposed to be held. It could be held like that, maybe. I don't know. So then we get into this here. So this is sort of some binoculars, which look pretty good. Has some soft goods going on, so you can just hang that around his neck if you would like. And I guess I can readjust this a bit so we can see him a little bit more. And we can see his accessories on him as he has his accessories on him. We do have this snake globe from a commercial or something, which looks really good, and it's one of those things that I don't think very many people are going to use it, but it is still cool that it exists. This hand has a tab, and you slot it into the bottom, and so he can hold it with this, if he holds his hand, something like that. That's kind of what the look's going to look like if he was holding that, and so that is kind of cool. I think that's an interesting gimmick. They included a hand, they included that snake. I mean, it's kind of a lot of fun, and trying to bring the whole world to life in one figure at a time, basically. So I guess we're kind of going to show hands as we go, and then I'll show you the rest of them when we're done. This one is a holding hand that goes up and down, and it's used to hold devices such as this device. And so it's a remote control or a detonator or something. I don't know exactly what all of these remotes that he has are, but that's how he would sort of hold it, and it would look something along those lines like that. Then we have this one over here, which is yet another one. This is like looks to me like the torture device or something. You can crank up the power or something. Again, I don't remember exactly what all these are, and I'm sure there's a place I could look it all up, but I didn't, so there we go. I bet you BBTS or something where I got it. I got actually one. I have two sets of these. I got one at BBTS and one at Entertainment Earth for 10% off. And I think that's it for those accessories. Then we have this gun here, which, I don't know, ray gun or something. Looks kind of cool. Looks like he looks like a little toy ship. He's going to be flying around a Silverhawk's Mirage, like, and it's time off. I'm sure there's a specific for that too. But that looks pretty good. He holds it really well. As for the rest of these hands that he has down here, he has a splayed hand, a fist for both sides, another trigger hand for the other side, which will not hold the staff. And I want him to hold the staff because that's what I want the most. And then we have two more that I just haven't used yet, a pointing and another trigger finger. So I real quick want to kill two birds with one stone. I get the question all of the time, why did they include two sets of the exact same hand? And I'm not sure 100% if that's what's going on here, but a lot of times there's an up and a down. And that is one. And then there's the in and out, which they don't do it in one hand. You don't have an in and an out where the gun's going to go off that way and this way. It's an up and down on this. Now, that is something to give you options, right? The other thing is, since you only get to the 90, getting this extra little bit sort of adds articulation and display options. Same thing over here with the staff, because you can go up and down with it. You can do a few more things, add a little bit more articulation without breaking the sculpt, and that is a Super 7 Brian Flynn thing that he says and he talks about. But a lot of people ask about these hands and why they put so many in there, and that is one of the reasons. I want to point out, I bought a lot of Super 7 product, but there's usually a piece of tape on here somewhere you have to cut. I believe, I remember. There's not on any of these Joes. So here we go, Duke and all of his accessories, and I gotta say that he looks like Duke. Looks right like he walked out of the cartoon. Great head sculpt, all this kind of stuff. Then, again, that almost sounds like I'm giving you my opinion, but, you know, I'm waiting to give you my opinion on these guys. So, with that, does look very clean. The paint looks clean on his head and his face. It looks really clean right here, and that looks accurate to the cartoon. He does have this little watch, which everyone likes to point out, which I hope I don't lose, and it is painted really well. Nice tampograph on there. And then he has this belt, kind of the same thing, that it's this kind of a rubbery belt, rubbery strap. Now, one thing about the strap here is that it is glued in right here. I think it's intended to cover up this point of articulation right there. And of course, not that. And it does have more of a breakup here. I think that on Cobra Commander, if we can look back there, his ab crunch is not quite as pronounced, maybe just because of the colors. So because of this color and all that, but I think it was meant to sort of cover that up and look like the original cartoon, original toy, and all of that good stuff. So yeah, that works. The green really does pop, and it feels like a very, I'd say, perfect set of colors for this to match the cartoon if that's what you're wanting. One thing about this is you do have some articulation right here that Cobra Commander didn't have, and I do feel like everything on this guy is much tighter than Cobra Commander was. So articulation, aside from this boot articulation, everything else is exactly the same as we saw with Cobra Commander. And so with that, a really stiff figure, I did notice that his elbow felt a little loose though. With everything as stiff as he is, that elbow felt loose. Now I do want to go into accessories real quick, because there's not much to see. You see the figure, cool. I don't know why his boots have stripes on them. Was that animation accurate? But his head, everyone says his head doesn't pop off. He has all this strength, and mine barely is on there. So mileage may vary. Now I do want to point out that I did get a batch from, I think this is the one that came from Entertainment Earth, and my BBTS batch is different, and I actually opened up both Cobra Commanders, and the tape is different. Like the way they taped it shut is different, meaning that they're different production runs is what I'm thinking. And of course, that's why they got them at different times is what I'm thinking. But I don't know. I don't 100% know. Anyway, let's pop off these heads, try out the different heads, because not very many reviews are able to accomplish that properly. So here is the head with a lot of light on them, and so this is, in my mind, when he's out in like a helicopter or he's flying a Sky Striker or something, he's wearing this headset. That's the way I see it, but it looks pretty good. I will not display him like this, because that's not what my goal is and what I'm trying to go for. Here he is saying, "Yo, Joe." So, "Yo, Joe." Let's see if we can get him in that pose. Hold on. It's kind of a Yo, Joe pose. I mean, something... like, I wouldn't go too much crazier than this. Definitely, when you see my shelf, you're going to go, "Mike, you don't even pose your figures." But they're all slightly posed, as articulated as the classifieds are. So, I mean, these head sculpts look like they came out of the show. And even down to different color variations on his cheek and all that kind of stuff, just like a real human being would be. Now, I did hear that there's some paint rub on the helmet, which I don't have. I don't have any paint rub at all from the helmet, so maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe that's just me. But here we go. And that's my favorite head sculpt right there, so I'm going to stick with that. Now, we're not going to go through articulation. We're just going to go straight into some accessories. All right, so he's got a bunch of hands. I guess we're going to try to swap those out as we go. And so the first thing I want to do is we're just going to see if we pop these off. Oh. A little scary. And I think it's going to be helpful to get his backpack on, because I'm going to try to set him up like the vintage Joe. We're going to put his arms behind his back, and then we're going to try to strap on his backpack like so. And that was not a hard task at all. Now, with him as no hands, let's go ahead and give him a hand that I'm not going to keep on forever, a saluting hand. And so one trick is, and this is something that I just want to point out, when you go to push these in, wiggle it a bit. Anytime you're messing with any of these joints, wiggle them as you're doing your stuff. And then, okay, well, as I say that, I'm not doing my own trick. And can he salute? So, it's not a perfect salute, and wow, that got bright. It got real bright. But there's a saluting hand. Okay, and we've got fist hands I'm not going to use. We've got a trigger finger hand, which I actually just want more of a holding hand. We got a pointing hand. We have a thumbs up and kind of holding hand. And then this one here, which is going to be holding something. So I think I'll put that in this hand, because he's going to be holding a gun in one. And then like this can be used to hold his gun. So that's going to be pretty good. And then let's go ahead and get a trigger finger hand. He comes with less hands than Cobra Commander, which is strange. Well, Cobra Commander does have that one to hold his globe. And then this goes in and out, so that's kind of cool. Let's start with this gun. And we're going to put it on there. That is a heck of a big handle. We'll do that off screen, off camera. Okay, well, good thing is that the plastic, you can bend it around it, so that works pretty good. And here he is with this gun. And let me adjust the camera now, because we've kind of seen all the accessories. And as we go through the accessories now, we can just kind of see with him on it. I'm going to put his helmet, which looks just like the original helmet that came with the original toy. I want to call it a G1 toy, but oh, well, there, his head popped off. So, just fell right off. It's got a double neck joint, just like Cobra Commander's. And then it's on there. So, I mean, it's not going to go anywhere unless you're popping it off like I did. So there he is. Now he's got his backpack on, which looks nice. And he's got his helmet on. And now he's got this gun. Now, this is a cartoon accurate gun. But I'm torn between whether I'm going to display mine with a cartoon accurate or toy accurate. So let me go ahead and get into that. I don't know. I think I'm going with the toy accurate. I think I am. I really do. So anyway, so with that, this other hand, what can it do? It can hold this receiver piece here, and we can get it in there. I've seen some pretty excellent photos of other collectors who have shown what they've done with this, and him like talking on it and stuff. Pretty good. That some things that people have done with this, so it looks great. Some great art and all that kind of stuff. But I drop it. But I think it's the same when it comes to Snake Eyes. I haven't opened my Snake Eyes yet, which I'm only opening these if I get a spare for a good price. And I think at Entertainment Earth you get 10% off and free shipping on certain, if you use one of the codes of anybody out there that's got a code and it's like, hey, use my code. Can't remember. I actually used ToyArk's code. I think I've told people that. I don't know why. I can't really get it to go in his hand, and this is the hand that I would use, but okay, just went behind the camera for a second and did that. Just gotta make it grip it, and it grips it fine, and then you can pull it up like he's closer to his mouth talking, and Snake Eyes, I need you over here. So that works really well, and it looks pretty good. Lastly, we have this accessory, which I think I'm going to go ahead and just leave that on him, but since my head pops off so easy, you can just strap it on there and then pop the head back on, and you can have it. So this is pretty much the toy look, and it is the, I guess you could say, the cartoon and the toy look all in one. The reason they made these like this is because that's exactly how they made the toy ones. And so you've got toy and tune options, and really after a while, like, what else could you have given Duke other than a flag and a jetpack? All right, now for some quick comparisons of them, and as you can see, this is the original vintage one from back in the day, in the 80s. This is one that came along. This is actually the Walmart one that we got, and I think I actually ended up picking one up for like $7 for a while there. Now you can get that at BBTS and stuff, but I thought they did a much better job with this than what they did with Classified for me. And so seeing these right here, this still looks more cartoon accurate than yet this one. So of course they're going for different things, and this thing costs way more, and there's all those factors to factor in. And I'm not really sure out of all their guns which one was supposed to be this, but I think the one that wasn't painted that we saw earlier was supposed to be the toy gun. Okay, so here is Duke, and a quick comparison. The Walmart one they gave us was terrible, and I didn't want to open up my 25th anniversary. I thought it was better, but this is not a good figure. I don't like the yelling face. I don't think I'll ever like a yelling face again, because they ruined this figure with that, and they ruined it with having the wrong strap, and whatever. They didn't really make it retro. And then this is one I got from my friend. This is his. I still have my original packed away, and I just leave this one out because if something happens to this one, well, it's not my childhood one, so it's not the end of the world. So looking at all of this, this matches the cartoon better, and this is closer to what you'd expect for both of these, even their modern iteration, and then of course the vintage one. The vintage one was limited by technology at the time. The O-rings are good, but this gets it closer to perfection. All right, so here we go with the comparison to Classified. This is really what matters the most when it comes to this. Now, before I go any further, this is where I share my thoughts. My thoughts on Super 7 versus Classified. And I have a much bigger discussion coming, price versus value. This guy here is, well, he was 20 bucks. Now he's like 23. Or I don't even know if secondary market value, is he 9 or is he 50? I don't know. I don't look up that. Well, maybe I might tonight. Just joking. This guy, 55. Or you find a deal like I got them for 50 even. And then this guy here, I actually paid $40 for. I have a sealed one, and then I had a loose one. My loose one I got for $40. And so the thing about it is that there's still a $20 figure, though. These are twice the price, more than twice the price, but they deliver what I want. They look like what I want. I never even wanted this, but I was like, you have to have a Cobra Commander, I guess. And this is closer, and I guess this is as close as we're ever going to get, and I should have known better. But then again, I started to be a completist of this line, which is really hard to do with Classified. It's going to be a lot easier to be a completist with these, as long as they don't do paint variations of every mold. But this is exactly what I wanted when I first heard of Classified. I wanted this look for Cobra Commander, this look for Duke. And I even thought Duke was one of the best Classified figures that came out in the earlier waves. Him and Destro and the Baroness, those were some of the better looking ones in the early waves. And then down the road, they kind of course corrected. But even with the course correction, this is hyper super tuned, which is exactly what I want. Now, there are other people out there that are like, no, I don't want that. I want the more real world, the more Fortnite looking accessories and all that kind of stuff. And that's fine. You know why that's fine? Because you got the best of both worlds. And people that like this are going to save a whole lot of money not paying $55 a figure over here. So I'm not going to get into the price versus value because there's a deep conversation to be had in the future. But let's take a look at this with some other Classified figures. Okay, so we can get an idea of how these are going to scale and look with other Classifieds. Cobra Commander being a little bit taller than other Classified figures is kind of a problem, but you can cheat it if you want to. I'm actually just going to start replacing figures. As I get them from Super 7, I'm going to box up my Classifieds. That's what I want on my shelf. That's me. And that's what I'm going to do going forward. So if you can see this right here, you can look and see scale and how it works. And I'm okay with it, actually. I'm okay with this. And until we get either the rest of them in Super 7 form, or we get more classic versions of Classified, which I believe is coming. I do believe is coming. But with that, I really like the way this Cobra Commander looks. Here are a couple of figures that I've had for a while that I felt were too big. This is I'm not sure which company made it, but this is that Fortnite version of a figure, and I already forgot his name, but he was one that looked more like Firefly than Firefly. And then this is one of the wrestlers, WWE or something. I don't know which wrestling figure it was. My buddy told me about it, and I just went and bought it. So he wasn't cheap. I think I got him like 20 or 30 bucks. But overall, he's a pretty good representation, pretty close for like 20 or 30 bucks at the time. and he is big, but all this seems to scale together okay for fillers till Super 7 makes these, which Super 7 may never make that guy. It's possible. How does he fit in the new Hasbro Trouble Bubble? It fits. He fits okay. He fits in the. Just kidding. This one is a 3D print that I got a while back from Casual Collector, and I still like it. I feel like one of the few people that have a Trouble Bubble in their collection until, of course, the mass-produced one comes. But it's still nice. It's still kind of fun to have this thing overall, and yeah, he fits in it. And I always felt like it was a little bit big, and I felt like he was doing some future planning over a Casual Collector, making it just a little bit bigger, and it worked. So let me know what you think about these guys here. Are you in on Super 7? Are you just classified? Are you neither? Both? This is what it looks like in my display. This is a shelf underneath my flag, so that's where I do my Joes. For now, I might open up some more shelving underneath here, but for now, that's where I'm doing the good guys, the Joes, and as you can see, he almost fits in. If you've got the right characters next to him, it works out pretty good. And this will be Cobra Commander's home for now. He sort of fits in. He's still a little bit too big, but depending on how you set it up, you can make it look good. But anyway, let me know what you think about these figures. Like and subscribe, and Titanium Hanger out.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force. Its purpose? 3 down.